I feel very familiar with Christian CND because I was active, very active in it for 10 years, and I still hope I'm an active member. And if I don't know everybody here, I'm still glad you've come and good to meet you. The nuclear morality flowchart has been a project for me for a very long time. I just came to the conclusion when I was quite a young fellow that nuclear weapons were a very bad idea. And well, I didn't always think like that. You know, if you grow up in the early post-war years, they seemed like a good idea to many people, and that's still a kind of a national mindset, which we've got to deal with. But it was a time of change for me. I suppose you'd call it formative years, and I decided for myself to work out the ethics of nuclear weapons. And it's a big problem. Well, it's a complex problem. And I came to realize they couldn't possibly be consistent with the way we run the rest of our lives. The fact that we engineered the means to incinerate millions of people and threaten the future of the whole world. So, in the end, I started to write it all down. I wrote down all the questions that I thought were relevant and tried to knock them in the right order to try and make them into a decision flowchart to be really related to ethics, because I thought the ethical. Jude is joining us. Hello, Jude.
Hello,
Excuse me
everyone.
interrupting the flow, but we must introduce Jude. Jude is going to manage this project. He's mostly managing it already, but I understand you've had all sorts of travel difficulties.
Yes, I have. I just got off Liverpool streets and I have to jump into a hotel to have a meeting because I won't be able to get home on time. My flight got delayed as well, so sorry about that.
Oh dear. Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you okay.
Okay.
Just to brief you, I got set up. I think I can share the online version of the flowchart when it comes to it, and we just checked out that seemed to work, and I just
Okay.
started work relating the
Hi.
early history of it.
Yeah, maybe you could share the article I shared because I was just gonna talk through the article. I think that has a lot more information of what we're trying to do. And then if we've got the links of the flowchart as well. So if we have time, we can also look at the flowchart.
Okay, do you want to take over from now then?
Yes. I just want to say
Okay,
I've only got on my battery.
Thank you, everybody.
On my battery, I've got only 54% of my battery. So if my laptop dies, I would have to switch to my phone. So please bear with me. It's just been a crazy day today. So yeah, I will share my screen. Oh, Martin, if you could share the could you share the You Decide document? Do you have it open? Maybe you share that, just in case if my laptop dies, then I
I don't
then
have
I
it
can switch over
available
to my
right
phone.
now. Actually,
All
I
right,
could
all
go
right. I will
looking
start
for it.
sharing it. I'll start sharing it while you go looking for it. In case my laptop dies, I'm just concerned about that. So just bear with me. Let me open that up. So for those who don't know me, my name is Jude Madubuike, and I met Martin last 2 years ago, July 2023, at the National Justice and Peace Conference, and I got intrigued with the nuclear morality flowchart and the logical aspect of it, and we got talking, and I then decided to become involved in the process or in the program, and since then I have taken, I would say, kind of a lead on this, but I still rely heavily on Martin And please, if you can't hear me, just let me know so I can make myself more audible. Okay, so I'll share my screen now. Okay. Please do let me know when you can see it. And if it's if it's visible.
Yeah, that's working, Jude.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
that looks good to me.
Yeah, I will scroll to the bottom and I will show. We have a number of links at the bottom here. So this link takes you directly to the Nuclear Morality website, and that is our official email currently. The second link is the interactive flowchart, which directs you through the flowchart in terms of sequential format, where you click on it, then it takes you to the next question. I'll click on it, so maybe that would open up as well. Now you can't see that screen at the moment. Anyway, we could get back to that. Then I have two other sequential versions. One Charles created. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Charles. Wicks created one of them, and another I had requested. I did a friend of mine who is kind of an IT guru, so he had to create another version as well. I will share this document with Teresa at the end of the meeting, so she could share this to everyone here, and you all can play around with the links if you have the time. Thank you. So if I start from the beginning, this is the overview of the flowchart. So like I said, I got involved with this program or project in 2003 at the Nuclear Morality Flowchart, Nuclear Morality Conference. And having spoken to Martin in depth, my idea or our collective idea intention was to create an awareness of this. How can I create an awareness to the world or for all humanity to work towards a nuclear weapon-free world? So a brief overview of the nuclear morality flowchart is a structured decision-making program, project or tool or documents which would guide every individual through a number of moral questions in relation to nuclear deterrence. So this is to get every individual to ask themselves, why do we need nuclear weapons in the world? Why do we need to have nuclear weapons as a deterrent? And once we can ask ourselves those questions as a personal moral decision, then we can then lead the campaign or lead the awareness or the fight towards the decision makers in getting them to understand the should I say the negative effects of having such nuclear weapons or such tool at our disposal. And just add a bit towards this. I just read something on the news this morning before I started traveling, that the UK was adding more to the nuclear weapon arsenal, and I just don't understand why we're even adding more to this. So this flowchart is supposed to guide you through how you should question yourself and then decide on what you want to do in order to ensure we kind of work towards a nuclear-free world. So the flowchart aims to kind of give you a self-reflection on the ethical implications of nuclear weapon, encourage public engagement, which we're doing right now, and we've also done with other national justice and peace groups and with RFP, some of our other stakeholders, and also find a way to hold the decision makers accountable by questioning the justifications of having nuclear weapon as a deterrent. I can understand why the decision to make a nuclear weapon as a deterrent came about, obviously to stop other superpowers destroying other countries. But then if you use an angle where you could say this is a self-defense tool, it's saying, how can that be a self-defense tool if you've actually intentionally planned to have nuclear weapon? Then it's no longer a nuclear defense tool. And if we were to ask ourselves, everyone here right now, why would I allow our governments destroy other people's lives in the name of keeping peace? That doesn't make any sense to me. So also some of the strengths of the nuclear of the flowchart also requires structured decision making. So this kind of simplifies the issue, making it easier for anyone who can read and write as young as maybe 4 years old, I suppose, to whatever age, to the maximum age we exist currently, to understand and make a decision. And also this also encourages critical thinking. And another one is also to kind of create an engagement where we could create this into a more interactive tool, create more educational articles, books, blogs, as well as animations or movies or whatever we can actually use to create awareness. So our intention or my vision here is to make everyone or find a way to create a global awareness so everybody understands that, okay, if I had a decision to decide what would the stance be? And there's no right or wrong. You know, if you decide to say yes, it's good to have a nuclear weapon, why have you decided that? If you say no, why have you decided that as well? So it's just a way to kind of critique a personal critique to kind of get to a decision where we should get it. So the key themes and questions raised in the flowchart, and this is where I might need some of your engagement. Let me see if I can get everybody's picture on this, because I can actually see anyone at the moment. So the key questions here is nuclear morality, responsibility. So that's the question here is, should an individual accept the responsibility of the potential loss of life caused by a nuclear weapon? The second is self-defense in just war. So can a nation justify the use of nuclear weapon in self-defense, especially if civilians are affected? The third is effectiveness of deterrence. If nuclear weapon deterrence is an effective way to maintain peace, or does it increase the risk of war? I think that's a very, very, very important question, because we all know Russia has nuclear weapons. We all know UK, France, and the superpowers all have nuclear weapons. Personally, I don't think Russia will be the first to use this, because if they were to use nuclear weapon on Ukraine, which they're currently fighting for a piece of land, using nuclear weapon on that piece of land would destroy that land forever. So the intention of trying to take the land by force or whichever means would just make it redundant. So that's just my personal opinion, but we all have our opinions. And then the fourth would be international stability. Would abandoning a nuclear weapon make a country more vulnerable to attack? I don't think so. There's so many other countries. Ukraine, for example, had nuclear weapons in the past, and they had to let go of theirs. South Africa as well, and I think some other Western countries as well. I don't have on the list right now. And escalation risk. Does the continued existence of nuclear arsenal make nuclear weapon inevitable over time? We don't actually need nuclear weapons in the world. It adds no value. It creates no added advantage to the humanity of the world. The cost of investing on nuclear weapon, we could divert that to better use of nuclear, maybe for health reasons or other reasons. So in terms of destruction of the world, it has no value. Public and political actions. If nuclear deterrence the world, what steps should individuals like ourselves and the government take towards this armament? So these are the key questions you would get from the flowchart. At some point, I'm going to share the flowchart so we can have an understanding of what it is. Maybe I should do that now. Just give me a minute. Let me open that up so we can all see what this looks like.
Sorry, do you want me?
No, I've got it.
Oh, you got it. Well done.
So this is one of our flowcharts, and this is one we had worked through. But and also I will scroll straight to the bottom for whenever any of you have the chance to review it. So after you've gone through the process, the flowchart. Sorry, I'm flipping through. I might be flipping through it quickly. At the bottom here, it tells you what your decision is. So if ever you've done your analysis or you've managed to go through this whole lot, you don't have to do it in one sitting. You could do it in a day or a week or whatever. But if you get to the bottom of it, this tells you what your final decision is, and then you can share that with Martin and myself, and then at least we can have a more detailed dialogue about this. But we can come on that later. So if I was to reset this, Martin, maybe you can. Oh yes. So if you click start here, so I'll use myself. I'll just scan through quickly. You shall not kill ever. I think you're allowed to kill, but I don't think it's a good thing to kill. So for me, no one should kill, because if I can't make life, if I can't create anyone, there's no way or no reason why I should take anyone's life. So for me, you shall never kill, ever. No. So that's a no for me. Then that brings me to the next ones, which says you may be a pacifist, but please continue with other questions which are still relevant to your case. Now, you have to bear with us. I know some boxes might be a bit, I don't want to use the word ambiguous, but it might be too in-depth. So we have plans to actually simplify this for other people as well, who may not have the time or who may not understand some of the in-depth of the questions. But for now, we'll go as it is. So if I continue to the next question, is it acceptable for a state merely to possess nuclear weapon as a means of keeping peace? If I was the prime minister, for example, and all the superpowers around me have nuclear weapons, and I know we've never used nuclear weapons since 1945, or we've been spending billions on this, I would rather not have it. I would rather not have it, because if a country was to use a nuclear weapon, it's not like we would instantly click the button to destroy the next country. I'm sure they'll have to go through a number of questions and meetings to make a decision about that. So for now, I would say, if I was the prime minister, I would say no, which would then take me to the next question, and on and on and on, and it goes. So for me, when I work on this chart, it always takes me towards the left angle because of my own ideas on my own stance, my own decision. So this is why I welcome everybody here. I don't know how many we are right now. So at least if we all decided to this week and go through the whole charts, we could at least have 10 or 20 different ideas or different viewpoints of what the flowchart should be, or what our collective decision is. So that's what the flowchart looks like. So if I go back to my presentation. So if I may ask, where do we all stand in terms of moral responsibility? Maybe Martin and Teresa, maybe you could help me monitor this, and because I don't want to use so much of my laptop power at the moment. Where I'll just take one question, or should I say individually? We could take questions 1, 2, 3. You can answer one out of the 3. Moral responsibility. Should an individual accept responsibility of the potential loss of life caused by a nuclear weapon? We're all here as Christians. I'm sure everybody here would say no. And then if I ask the second question, self-defense and just war. Can a nation justify the use of nuclear weapon in self-defense, especially if civilians are affected? So what says you all? What would you say if you were asked that question? You can feel free and drop it in the comments. So you can say number 2, your answer, number 1, your answer, number 3, your answer. This is just to get an idea of similar sort of questions that might pop up when you're doing the flow chat. And bear with me, I can actually see yours. Okay, I can see some of the chats now. Apologies, I need to leave. Okay, that's the first one I go.
Just to kick off, Jude,
Yes.
moral responsibility, I think we all are responsible if we can do anything about it. And as it happens, we live in a reasonably democratic country which owns nuclear weapons, so we have to take a position. That'd be my first input on that.
And which question are you answering?
I'm answering the question 1, moral
Okay,
responsibility.
Good.
This is your generalized questions which refer to
Yes,
really a whole zone of the flowchart, don't they? Each one.
That's correct. So this key themes and question, I came about this based on the summarization of the flowchart itself. So if I was to create a workshop, I could say I might just focus on just the moral responsibility of it, or I could focus on the self-defense and just war of it, because that is a very big angle, the self-defense bit. Because if you have a country threatening you or your current neighbor, like the NATO or whatnot, you might be inclined to do something or to act towards that, just the way the West is supporting Ukraine towards defeating or fighting against Russia. I mean, in my own opinion, I don't think we should be having wars in this world right now. We can have all these resources in the world and still be fighting each other. It makes no absolute sense to me. But that's a different conversation. Anyway, so if I move on to the awareness strategy. So when I took over from Martin on this, my intention was to make everybody, my next door neighbor, my son, my child, or my siblings, my family, and anyone else to understand or to be aware that there is nuclear weapons in the world. This could be used at any time or potentially by anyone who's a world leader. What do you think about it? What is your stance on it? And what would you do to prevent this from happening? So that's my summarization or overview of the nuclear weapon. So in terms of creating an awareness of this, I have decided to work more on creating the nuclear flowchart, the flowchart into a more interactive tool where, like I've shown the interactive flowchart, but as well as creating the likes of apps, the booklets as well. Maybe we'll have a booklet of different questionnaires or different boxes or different themes on how to basically breaking it down into tiny bits for people's awareness and people's understanding, and also creating educational materials. We've started. We've been working with a number of peace organizations, the likes of National Justice and Peace and Religions for Peace. Religion for Peace has been we've been working actively with them. We've been meeting, Martin and I have been having meetings every 2 weeks. And Religions of Peace, CND has been very interactive and very participant in that. And we have started working on a number of podcasts. So we have done a number of, we've actually reviewed some of the boxes. And at some point, we will be releasing that to the general public. So in working with the peace organizations, we've also decided that it might be best we create our own, should I say, how would I put it? A standalone organization, which Martin and I, we've decided to go in the format of a CIC, which is a community interest community interest company, which would allow us to work independently, but at the same time work alongside every other stakeholder, so that their charitable organizations or charitable status wouldn't be found wanted or found in the wrong hand of the law if they were not supposed to be should I say working on a nuclear morality flowcharts or whatnot, or nuclear aspects of the world. And I don't know the best way to say it, because I just don't understand why they shouldn't be able to work on it. But the situation is that we would want to make this nuclear morality flowchart a standalone community interest company where we can create we could develop the flowchart more in different ways in forms of article, blogs, booklets, games, video and whatnot, and keep advancing it. And then we can work with every other peace organizations to create more awareness. So that's something in progress, and intention is to complete that before end of this month, because in July this year I'm actually providing a workshop in the National Justice and Peace Conference, but I will actually touch on that later. So for now, some of our awareness strategy, our first point was to create a more digital and an online presence. So we already started working on a podcast in the form of a podcast with Region of Peace, and that will be on YouTube. And we've broken the flowchart boxes into small sized modules. So we critique it and we converse about it, and we kind of define our stance or where we stand. So basically we're trying to decide on where we stand on it. And then we could also send it out, and we're expecting to get a bit of feedback, comments, and also seeking to get more interested people to join the conversation. And so there's no right or wrong question or no right or wrong process. It's just a way of creating awareness and also championing it through that way. So in doing that, so the podcast is one of the ways we're doing that. I also need to find a way to start updating our website with updated information. And we have a lot of information Martin has actually produced and worked on in the past. Some of those can be revamped and reposted so that those information is not lost. I haven't even gone through there's so many of them. I haven't even gone through all of them. So those are still great information. So that still needs to be updated on our website. For our digital strategy and online presence, my biggest bottleneck right now is that we don't have enough resources. It's just Martin and I currently. So we're not actually asking for money currently. I mean, we would love some of that, but we'll rather register our organization or our company before we start requesting for funds. But at the same time, we're also seeking for support in terms of manpower. If anyone has the technical ability to support in any way, even if it's creating a website or creating an awareness or developing materials, whatever way. So we're basically seeking help or seeking support as well. So while I was on my trip, I was actually in Europe. I went from Paris and I went to Lodz, and then we also went to Rome. One of the people I was traveling with, their partner is an IT guru, and he's working on a very big project at the moment. So I have asked if they could actually help us, even if they could give us 1 hour of their time a week, 1 hour a week, to kind of help in creating some animations. And so basically we're trying to create things that would be more thought-provoking, things that would get people talking about it or thinking about it. I know it's not going to be an easy process, but we have to do something, basically, so we need to create the awareness. So a strong online hub is one of our strategy. And then the second one is creating a social media impact in the likes of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Everybody is on there, dancing, movies and whatnot. It'll be good to actually have some of our information out there and start promoting that as well, start engaging with the younger demographic, younger generation, as well as anyone else who's able to use the social media as well. So we could create a challenge, but this is things we've put in place, or we're looking to put in place. We need more resources basically to do this. Another strategy, awareness strategy we're looking at is also creative storytelling and education. So creating a documentary of films, in the likes of creating short animated movies, or an action movie with it could be anything, but at least with the underlying information or subconscious information about the nuclear morality. or the effect of the nuclear weapon being used in the world, the diversification of what life could be post nuclear weapon being used. Currently we have at least 5 or 6 wars going on right now. And now I heard China is about to fight another country as well. Was it Taiwan or Vietnam? Was it Taiwan? I can't remember right now. So
in Taiwan,
yeah,
yeah.
Taiwan. So I just don't even understand where that came from. But so things are really escalating so quickly, and it will be good if we can get moving as quickly as we can as well. So every little effort helps. And then also games as well. The gaming industry is booming right now, and we at one time, Religion of Peace, we're looking into funding individuals to help create gaming, or speaking to the gaming community to try and go through the process and create some storytelling or some gaming version of the nuclear weapon as well, nuclear minority flowchart. So for us, it's how do we create? For me, it's how do I create this where if I show it to someone, they are not overly overwhelmed. I'll be like, oh, I don't really have time for this, or I don't really understand what I'm supposed to do here. So like I showed those boxes, even if the first question, thou shalt not kill, it could be a booklet of thou shalt not kill, nuclear minority flowchart. Why is it necessary for you not to kill? Why is it necessary for you not to kill through nuclear weapon? Why do we have nuclear weapon as a deterrent? So basically getting information out there, so it is a bit of task, but I'm very, very excited about this, and we need all the help we can get. Then also, outreach, which is why we're here, and which is why we're also engaging with different peace communities to get the story out there, and also working with trying to get our MPs involved to see if they could actually run the nuclear minority flowchart as well, so we can get their stance on it and see if they can push it through in their community and as well as their party. It's not been very easy. I know Martin has had a meeting with an MP in the past, and we've been trying to get a meeting with his current MP. I've also spoken to the Barnett MP. I briefly discussed it with him, but I haven't really had an official meeting about it. So that's still one of our potential strategies. So in terms of stakeholders, currently Martin is the brainchild of this, and I have come along. So we are or joint project leadership. Our responsibility is to oversee the strategy execution and stakeholder engagements of this, and provide guidance and contents, and also help with any form of recreation of the nuclear morality. I know RFP, we're working on something before I joined. They also helped in translating it in multiple languages as well. So that's part of what we're trying to do, coordinate with anyone who's interested and also lead. So basically being executive directors of the CIC we're forming, and also of the nuclear morality flowchart. Our current external stakeholders, Religion of Peace, they've been actively participating in our bi-weekly meetings. They secured a budget for our podcast and blog, and we've been working on those. So we have our 10 sessions, which should be ready to roll out once we give it an okay to go. So that's just waiting on myself and Martin. Well, myself right now, because I have to send them some information. And they also had about $10,000 on Google credits to work on their programs, on projects. So we could also tap into that if it's something we can do. And so they've been assisting with potential fundings for this as well, but from their own society, not necessarily for nuclear morality per se, but working together alongside them. Also CCND, which is part of what we're here as well, to mobilize supporters to participate in the awareness initiative, and also engage and support in whichever way they can assist us with as well. Like there's no limitation on what we're really asking for, because I did say to Martin, it'll be good like if we start in the middle and every stakeholder was just around us, and then we can we can work hand in hand and try and create this awareness amongst everybody. And then also we got the National Justice and Peace, which is the New Barnet one. I attend the New Barnet Church, the Immaculate Mary and St. Peter's Church. And so I do attend the meetings every Tuesdays, the fourth Tuesdays of every month. And then we've got the West London, which is the Kingston Peace Council. So Martin, maybe you can talk a bit about, you're on mute, Martin.
Yeah, it's called the West London Network of Justice
Yes.
and Peace. Again, it's a network
Yes,
of churches, basically.
Yeah, so we've also been able to discuss with them, and they're aware of what we're working on, and they've also offered to provide some financial support if and when we need it. And we also work with Pax Christi. They're very aware of what we're working on, and we engage them in what we're doing and our next steps in terms of in registering our CIC. And also the last but not the least is the policymakers. Find a way to talk and discuss with our MPs in ensuring they're aware of our work and how we can, together with them, work towards peace issues and disarmaments of the nuclear morality world. So basically, we're just trying to get everyone involved within the Peace Network Society and get them involved and get them aware of what we're doing and see where we can get the support to move ahead and create more information on this. So this is what I've written in the past, but there's so many other things we're working on, and I hope I've been able to give a bit of brief information. But before I finish, I will share one more information, and then I can take any questions if there is any. So this is what I have prepared for the upcoming workshop. So the workshop is going to happen on the 25th to 27th of July, and I have intended to run the workshop. So our organization is You Decide. We're still in the process of creating this. I have already discussed that with them. So if there's any confusion, we could take our name out. But before this workshop, we want to have this CIC in operation and running. This is a brief information about myself. I have been a project manager for a while. I am a design engineer for over 17 years in the automotive industry, but I've run multiple projects. So I would say more of a strategic and transformative individual or business manager or project manager, however way I can put it. So after I saw the presentation Martin was sharing in 2023 conference, I was really intrigued about it, and we talked about it, and I decided to become a peace, justice and peace advocate. I've always been one, but it's officially become one, and then also work in finding a way to change the world for the better. So about the workshop, the description of the workshop, we're trying to engage participants to explore the flowchart by going through the key moral and strategic questions about nuclear morality. But I'll be guiding them through it, just the way we briefly did, but we'll have a classroom version and we'll go through the questions as much as we could do and maybe give some practical exercises and then find a way to understand how or where each person stands on nuclear morality deterrence, and also find a way to gather everybody or develop a strategy where we can create awareness within each group that will be present in the workshop. So the workshop is intended to be more interactive, hands-on exercise, as well as reflective role play. We have a stall in the workshop during the conference. Last time we had a working flowchart where we were able to guide a few people through the flowcharts, which was quite beneficial because you could then if you answered if you answered the first question and you took it to the next one, you could actually say, you could actually have more visual, so you make maybe a better decision. At least that could get you a bit more engaged in doing so. So we did that last time, and we intend to do that more. So my expected outcome from this workshop will be to engage people and get them understanding in nuclear ethics and their own personal moral responsibility, and also get a more practical experience using the flowchart as a decision tool. Because sometimes you see the flowchart, you're a bit daunted by it. I'm an engineer by trade, so for me, I like the flowchart because of the sequential and structured, logical process of it. But then also find a way to one of the other outcomes is find a way to create another form of community where we can then start working towards the awareness ideas and maybe critique some of my ideas and maybe give me better suggestions or better advice on how we can get on with it. And also find out who can also render some help to us as well. Yeah, so that is where I stand with this. And yes, that is it for me for now. So anybody have any question for me, please feel free.
I would just make one or two comments, Jude.
Okay.
I think everyone can see that Jude is taking this on, not short of ideas, plenty of new things happening, and we seem to be going places, even with a new name. You decide. Now that's all good. I'd like to answer one or two of the things that have come up in the chat I've been watching. Probably Jude didn't have time. We do get on well with Quakers. I know one or two Quakers who are a little bit actively involved, and my MP's a Quaker, so as you know, I can get on to her better. She's a new MP to me, though. So yes, we collaborate with Quakers and meet in their place sometimes. As regards the moral approach, it's a key point that it's a powerful argument at the moment, and also it is the way to abolition. We're not just wanting to tell people nuclear weapons are a bad idea. We want to abolish them. And we think that will only happen permanently when anybody can see that nuclear weapons are totally inconsistent with all our other way of life. So that's analogous to the abolition of slavery in a way. And the applications, you can see it's got it's for individuals, and I would beg everyone to try it, work your way through if you haven't already done it. As a discussion agenda, and maybe for use in meetings concerned with called to be peacemakers and those kind of documents, it's good. And as for calling the decision makers to account, we do want to get MPs to give their response. That's quite hard to pin them down, but I've done it to my MP or my old MP. I've been moved into a new constituency now, which is like a new opportunity. But yeah, please get involved if you can. I mean, it's fairly clear to us that most of the people listening to this kind of meeting are on our side, basically. But we want your thoughts and involvement. And now we're making it a more official organisation. We'll need a little bit more admin and help, possibly in managing the finance, even not in raising it, because we'll need a bit of money as well. We've got on very well with not much so far, but it's getting into being a big deal. Thank you, everybody.